As a result of the expanded format of the FIFA World Cup going from 32 to 48 teams, we have seen a lot of droughts ended. You see the 3 teams there that have never qualified for the tournament, Jordan and Cabo Verde and Uzbekistan, but obviously some long waits for more traditional footballing powers like Scotland and Norway, who qualified for the first time since 1998, and Paraguay, who last qualified for the World Cup in South Africa 2010. But Ian, we must start with Scotland. We've been holding on for long enough. Ian, as someone who is supportive of the team, you've got your Scottish tie on.
Yes.
You denied us the chance to see you in full kilt. But with the team not having qualified for the World Cup since 1998, what does this mean for Scots, who went through an absolute slog of a game? Saw some brilliant goals. Scott McTominay with an overhead kick in the 3rd minute. Yeah. And then Kieran Tierney to make it 3-2 from the edge of the area, and then for 4-2, McLean from the halfway line. It was an absolutely brilliant game. We're going nuts upstairs watching the game. What did it mean? What does it mean to you as a Scot?
Listen, first and foremost, obviously I'm born in the United States of America. I'm very proud to be born in California, but at the same time, being raised by a Scottish mother and raised in Scotland, hence the accent, it's a special moment to understand what Scottish people think of football, and it's their religion. It's everything to Scottish people. To actually compete at major tournaments is all they want to do. They want to celebrate moments, they want to come together, bring joy to people around them, and the opportunity to travel for the Tartan Army is something unique and special. I was there in 1998. I got to go watch them play, actually, ironically, against Norway in the World Cup, and it was in Bordeaux. It was a special moment. The Scots really enjoyed themselves. Craig Burley scored the only goal in that game for Scotland. It finished 1-1, obviously, with Norway equalising, but it was just a magnificent occasion. So for the first time in such a long time, to see the Scottish national team put the investment in, and we've been talking about infrastructure and commitment, it's also about choosing the right person to lead this team, and what Clark's done to this group of players is he's given them hope, he's given them direction, and they have become a very difficult team to compete against. They have passion and belief. It's a Scottish manager leading a Scottish team to Scottish success in a Scottish way. I mean, leaving it as late as they did do, it felt incredibly special. The emotions I went through, you were alongside me. It was absolutely fabulous to see the heart and the passion and the desire, the never say die mentality. It actually shone bright for the Scots this time. More used to seeing Scotland mess it up in the closing stages, which I thought they did do. At 2-2, I thought this is over. This is just the typical way. I wasn't happy with the equaliser, obviously, with an interesting free kick that was looking to me like it wasn't a free kick, that was actually given as a penalty kick by the referee. I thought that was the moment gone, Chris. So to see Scotland show the way that they did do was spectacular. And the goals that they scored. McTominay's goal, 4th minute into the game, one of the best goals I have seen scored in football, full stop. Certainly the best goal that I've seen at Hampden Park since Zidane scored for Leverkusen, against Leverkusen in that game. That was an unbelievable game.
For Real Madrid against Leverkusen.
For Real Madrid, way back in, I can't even remember, was it
2000, 2001?
Yeah, unbelievable goal. But McTominay just, I think, outshot it with his unreal overhead kick. And then the closing stages, the way they finished it, Tierney's strike from outside the box to get them the go-ahead goal, and then a goal from halfway line. You couldn't have scripted it any better, Chris. That was a special moment for all Scottish fans around, and I'm sure there's a lot of Scots in the United States of America right now who are enjoying this moment, as they should. This is a special moment. The Tartan Army will be coming to North America. Not quite sure how they're going to handle Mexico City. They haven't had to do that since '86 when Gordon Strachan was playing for the team. But this will be a special moment for all Scots to come together once again and enjoy the good times.
Yeah, and it's one of those, too, where we saw with the Republic of Ireland at the weekend, where because of the long droughts and the expanded format, Scotland also benefiting from the expanded format of the Euros as well, having qualified for the last one, playing in the opening game against Germany. Yep. And I think there are some countries that have taken advantage of these opportunities. Yes, the format has expanded, not massively in Europe. In Europe, you go from 9 automatic, I believe, to 11 automatic. And so you got to go and beat a Denmark side that have been one of the very best in Europe, and you go and get it done. It's just an incredibly job well done for this group, and I think for Scotland, it's going to be incredible to see them at the World Cup next summer. Let's talk about another one of these sides that you mentioned. We're the opposition for Scotland in that game in 1998, Norway, who I think have been adrift for a long time. They haven't qualified for a major tournament since the Euros, and I believe the year 2000. It's been so long for them since they qualified. They have missed 12 straight major tournaments since qualifying for Euro 2000. And all of a sudden, they look dominant. They look like a side you don't want to play, despite the fact that they wouldn't have played in a major tournament for 26 years. Now you have Erling Haaland up front. playing with an incredible group of players. Are Norway all of a sudden kind of a threat going into this World Cup?
Yeah, I actually watched them compete against Scotland in the group stage for the Euros, and where Scotland actually beat them away from home in the later stages of that game, and I was not necessarily impressed with Norway at all. I felt like a lot of great individuals, but didn't really have much of a direction. I think now under Solbakken, they've got a coach who's got experience, understands what it's like as a player, but also has basically given a tactical approach for this group of players who are talented to really get on board with and believe in. They kind of play a diamond formation. They play with fullbacks getting forward, but they sort of go from a real interest in diamond midfield to sitting back and waiting for their opportunity to counter-attack with these fullbacks who love to get forward. I don't know if you saw Ryerson's haircut, by the way, against Italy. Shocking. Hopefully he doesn't bring that out when it comes to the World Cup. But he is absolutely brilliant at getting forward on that right-hand side. But offensively, it's just where I think they shine more than anything else. You've got the unbelievable talent, which is Erling Haaland, who's a world-class talent. The goals that he scored, 16 I think it was through qualifying, which is special. They scored, 37 goals it was through qualifying? That's spectacular in itself, and I understand the opposition. You've still got to get the job done. And they did it against Italy in a game where Italy needed to score 9 goals against them. They smacked 4 in against Italy. That, to me, tells you that the mentality and the desire and the commitment is clearly there from this Norwegian side, and they're led by a great coach. But it's not just Erling Haaland. You are supported by some talented players, and Odegaard will always get spoken about because of the player he could potentially be. He's a world-class player from midfield. When he's fit and he's healthy, he can dictate. But they've got Oscar Bob on one side, they've got Nusa on the other side, they've got Sorloth who can play alongside Erling Haaland. I mean, they have weapons. I think they're very strong when it comes to midfield as well. There's one player in particular, it's Sander Berg, who plays in midfield.
For Fulham.
He is unreal.
Yeah.
He won't get spoken about because he does all the dirty work, right? He probably has most contacts of the ball from any player in a Norwegian jersey from that midfield position, picking up passes, short passes, breaking up plays, starting counter-attacks. He just does a lot of the dirty work, and he's one who benefits, I think, from the tactical approach now under Solbakken, and clearly playing well for Fulham as well.
Yeah, and Norway will be at the World Cup for the first time since 1998. Now, another team that has gone a lengthy drought without playing in the World Cup is Austria, who are a real threat at the Euros under Ralf Rangnick. But here they are, having played in the World Cup last in 1998. It took them until the last in order to get there. Bosnia-Herzegovina giving them a real challenge. 1-0 it was until the 70th minute, and Austria getting that equalizer. But we saw them at the Euros last year. All of a sudden, they became a team that you did not want to play against. We know the defined style under Ralf Rangnick, very direct 4-4-2, direct forward, through balls, playing quickly, that sort of Red Bull style of football.
Yeah.
For Austria, a nation that I think has always been in the middle tier of the pack in Europe, where do you see them now going into this World Cup, ending a long drought of their own? You
know, for large parts of their game against Bosnia, they were going out.
Yeah.
Right, they were going to go into the playoffs, and it was going to be Bosnia who were automatically going to qualify for the World Cup. And for Austria to show that heart and passion and a way, figure out a way to get the goal that they did do. Gregoric obviously gets the goal. Fantastic goal from him from 3 yards out. But at the same time, Ralf Rangnick, he has a tendency to get the job done. He doesn't necessarily make it the most pleasing on the eye style of football, but Austria have actually really bought into what Rangnick's selling them. And I do believe that they're very difficult to score goals against. Going into this matchup against Bosnia, they'd only conceded 3 goals. I think there's only 5 other teams throughout the whole of UEFA qualifying who had similar or less goals conceded against them. And that's special for a team and a group of players like Austria, because you wouldn't expect that, but they can also score a goal. Now, I know they've lent heavily on Arnautovic, obviously being the one up top for them, to actually score the goals and be maybe the bit of the troublemaker. But you need his leadership in amongst a group of players. But there is a bit of experience there. A lot of them play in the Bundesliga, some of them play in the Austrian Bundesliga, and some of them play in other European leagues. But I do think that Ralf Rangnick's the key to their success, Chris. If you get Rangnick to have a system where they're difficult to score goals against, they've got weapons that will cause problems against anyone. Happy for Konrad Laimer, by the way. He was the one who got them back into that game, and obviously had a goal disallowed at one point because of his leadership, his drive. He's been phenomenal for Bayern Munich this season, and he continues to impress me for the national team as well.